Namaskar. I'm Ashok Vyas and I'm very, very happy because we are going to be talking about food. Who doesn't like food? Tell me. There could be some people who say that, oh, I don't eat that much. They're dieting. But whatever you say, as you heard the good old saying where they say, used to say that the pathway to a man's heart is through his stomach. But that boils down to the kind of taste buds that you have. But let's go to the further deep. And there are two kinds of people in the world. One, earlier we used to say vegetarian, those who are vegetarian, and those who are non-vegetarian. But now there is another third side which is more towards the vegetarianism, which is veganism. Now, what is this veganism? Some of us know, many of us don't know. So I have the pleasure of the presence of two committed friends who are vegan, and one is here, Rakesh Bhargavji, and now the president elect or the president of World Vegan Vision New York chapter. And the gentleman, Avinash Kachhy ji, is joining me from New Jersey. He edits a magazine which is on the veganism. So I would like to begin with you, Avinash ji. Why veganism? I mean, what made you think about it? But I think for some of our viewers, it'll be relevant to learn what is veganism.
Veganism is living a life without causing harms to any animals or any other living beings. That is in a nutshell. And if you apply it to diet, a lot of ingredients in our diet are based or coming from animals. For example, dairy, eggs, and meat. And if you are a vegan, you would refrain from consuming any of those things, including honey, because honey doesn't cause death of honeybees, but still vegans don't eat honey. The Okay, so that's veganism.
So that's a short definition, which I think we can weave more on that. But Rakesh, I am also reminded the word ahar, as we have ahar means food, of course, but food not just consumed by mouth or as you eat, but through all your senses. And the point that I want your attention on is they say jaisa anna vaisa man. So the
Mhm.
kind of food that you have, it will have those kind of mind, meaning you will have those kind of thoughts. So thoughts and food, they are interrelated. Your comments as a vegan, Rakeshji, based on your experience.
Ji, first of all, Ashok ji, many thanks to you and also greetings to your viewers. We are honored to be part of this program today. You do a great community service, and I must applaud you. So, like Avinash ji said, the the veganism is like a spiritual way of living without causing harm to anybody. Like ahimsa parmo dharma. Avinash ji's definition is perfect in that regard. Now, why ahimsa is important? Because your thoughts becomes your action eventually. So if that if a animal is killed or harmed, that energy of harm goes into food, that food becomes a part of your thinking, and that thinking becomes into action. The world is becoming more violent because we are causing violence to the others. What we do to others happens to us. And what Avinaji said in honey, I agree with that, that honey may not cause a direct harm, but people who breed who grow honeybees, they give them sugar water instead of honey, so ultimately they become weaker and they would die. So there is honey also causes harm to bees if we take it away from them.
So there are many intricacies involved, Avinaji, in terms of the way things function, and there is a pattern of habit that people have, and until unless they are convinced that there are sufficient reasons for them to change, um, they kind of are not not convinced. That includes me. So now, if you take away milk, you feel that what remains if because there are many products which are made out of milk. Then you have yogurt, then you have butter, and then a lot of sweets are also like that.
Mhm.
But we will come back to this intricate side. Let's stay with uh, vegetarianism and a non-vegetarianism, as we both of us were saying that food and if there is element of violence involved, it will have certain sort of traits that you will have after consuming that food. But then many people who love non-vegetarian food may find this idea a little offending, Avinash. You might have come across people who would argue with you that why, I mean, eh, you want to respond to this?
Yeah, actually, first of all, I'm not as much into spirituality as Rakesh ji. What I think is, or what I know is that many animals are called sentient animals. They have enough intelligence to develop relationships, feel pain,
Mhm.
feel love for other beings, including humans. And the perfect example is pets. Many of us have pets like cats and dogs, right? And we don't even think about eating cats and dogs. And the animals that people eat, like cows and pigs, they are equally intelligent or even more. Like, for example, pigs are far more intelligent than dogs, and yet people don't pay any attention to that.
Right.
People eat them, and the reason is that people don't know about it. The food industry has done a very good job of keeping people in the dark about how the food is produced and how what the animals feel and
Yes.
what the animals are like,
Mhm.
including fish. And about what was the other question? Oh, the other question you had about the dairy. For example, if now vegetarians feel that they are doing a good job by not eating animal flesh, but the way dairy is produced currently in the 20th and 21st century is it makes milk equal to liquid beef, because in a nutshell, uh, when a cow doesn't give milk, just like it as a bodily function. A cow has to be pregnant, it has to deliver a baby, and only then the cow gives milk for feeding the baby. But we steal the milk first of all. Then, in the old days, when we used the male cow as a animal used in transportation or farming, the baby male calf was allowed to live. But today we kill them within a week of their birth. So if you consume milk, you are directly responsible for causing the deaths of all the male cows. Second thing is that the cows are intensively made to deliver every year by artificial insemination. And then, because of that, the cows become very weak by constant milking and giving birth to baby cows. So within 5 or 6 years, the cows become so weak that they can't even stand, and they are called spent cows. So then those cows are sent to slaughterhouses, and they become cheap hamburger meat. So a cow that normally can live 20 to 25 years lives only 5 6 years because of the dairy industry,
Right.
and that makes milk equal to liquid beef.
Right.
So listening to that is quite disturbing for many people
Yeah,
who are like me, and
yeah,
so there are two options we uh, who find it disturbing. Either we stop trying to learn more about it because we are not willing to leave our comfort zone of the pattern of habit, which is a
Right.
part of it. Secondly, if you try to investigate further,
Right.
then you come up with counter arguments. So here is a counter argument, Rakesh, and that is,
okay,
as Avinash was saying, that if uh, you see that there is no utility, or and when I say the counter argument, is actually based on the way we humans have started accumulating what makes us uh, happy, or what we like, and we don't hesitate in exploiting, and that has become a part of human nature
yeah,
to a
it has
great extent.
always been a nature, always been human nature.
Yeah. So right now the situation is, uh, if you don't find any utility of any animal, then you would not pay that much attention to it. What I'm saying is, there are people who are taking care of the cattle or cows or what, whichever way you look at it, because there is some utility involved, Rakesh. So when you become vegan, then maybe that aspect also is taken out of the equation, which means while you are saying that there this is being cruel, the other option may also eventually may turn out to be cruel, let's say for cows. Raki, you want to consider what I suggested?
देखिए अशोक जी, not only I agree with Avinash ji, I think he articulated it well, but think about a dairy farm which is let's say 50,000 cows, and every year they are made to produce a calf, and let's say out of 50,000, 10,000 cows every year are spent cows, so they can only replace 10,000 female calf every year, and that happens only once every 5 years. So not only the male calves are killed, even the female calves are killed. That's number one point. Number two, the utility of a domesticated animal is maybe 10,000 years old, maybe 15,000 years old. Before that, there was no domestication of animals. Animals used to live in the wild, and there are so many other animals that are mammals and they live in wild, but we don't take their milk. No other mammal drink another mammal's milk to survive. So it is for our convenience that we have created this paradigm of drinking milk. Number one. Number two, I have a very simple argument. The best milk for an infant is mother's milk. But after the infant is weaned off and now the second child is born, why doesn't mother feed the second baby the milk which is coming naturally because of the second baby? But the first baby doesn't get that milk. It means that the nature did not intend humans to consume milk after they're weaned off. So the utility aspect, I can understand that. One theory says that maybe thousands of years ago there was a drought or severe shortage of food, and people saw that, hey, this animal can survive by drinking their mother's milk. Why don't I try this milk? And you can start drinking that milk, and then maybe this domestication process started. But the utility is for the convenience of us. Also, in olden days, in traditional India, I remember that the calf was given adequate quantity of milk from the mother, and then what remained was used for the human consumption. With today's production and today's demand of the production of milk, there's hardly anything left for the calf. And not only that, we're giving
Right.
milk producing
I
hormones
got
to
you.
cows to produce more milk, which is a machine.
So, Rakesh, there are many, many subplots to the story that we are
Yes.
talking about, and uh, this is ultimately the structure that we develop, which we feel is going to be beneficial, beneficial from the point of view of consumerist mental tone that we have, and we point fingers to others, but we are also living the same kind of life using cars and then whatever. So, Avinash, if I'm correct, it is only recent. When I say recent, meaning just 100 years ago, in 1940s, probably that we became 1944, maybe that we started becoming aware about veganism and this lifestyle where you would avoid milk products as well as. So, what is the genesis? What is the history? You are editing a magazine, and so what led to this thinking?
Actually, veganism was in use from even couple of hundred years ago, even before that. But in 1945 or so, the Vegan Society was formed in the UK, and actually Mahatma Gandhi was one of the officers in the Vegan Society. Uh, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, and in the 70s, there is a philosopher and a professor named Peter Singer wrote a book named Animal Liberation, and that has started a big the movement big time, because before that veganism was just considered a fat diet or something like that, but now we are also considering animals and the animal aspect of that food production, and that's why veganism has become a mainstream movement now. One thing I would like to point out is that first of all, I mean, we are not just talking about animal welfare. Vegan diet is by far the best diet for humans too.
Yes.
I'll give you my personal example. I was a vegetarian from birth, and occasionally I dabbled into eating some non-veg foods as a taste, like once a month or once every, very occasionally. but that's not like a full time non-veg diet. So still my cholesterol was 265, and I didn't want to take any medication. I was running very hard. I was running up to 7 miles a day to keep it down. And then my ankles had problems because of flat feet, and I couldn't run. And then my niece told me that her brother watched a movie named What the Health, and he became instantly vegan. And I said, "Oh yeah, what is up with that movie?" So I watched that movie, and then I learned about all these animal cruelty aspects. Plus, it also explains why vegan diet is good for us as humans. And then I became vegan, and my cholesterol became 165 in 3 months from 265, and
Right.
I'm not taking any medication. So first of all, being humans, we are selfish. And first of all, vegan diet is the best diet for humans, as long as you don't consume processed foods. Vegan diet can also be equally bad. Like if you can, if you eat Oreo cookies and Coca-Cola all day,
Or
it's
potato
not,
chips.
it's not, and potato chips, it's not going to be a healthy diet. But you can make a very healthy diet out of just staying
Yes.
vegan. You don't need any other animal supplements.
Right.
So I think some of our viewers would have stopped watching you now because they say he's objecting to everything. I love eating this Oreo cookies, and he says
Yeah.
don't eat it. Another thing you mentioned, and I'll seek Rakesh's personal experience also on that. And I am also aware of a few people who don't eat processed foods, but that would kind of put sort of friction on the economic cycle that we have, Rakesh, right now, because the economy runs on processed foods and billions of dollars industry is there. So, but anyway, let's look at it objectively from the basics. As
Right.
Avinash ji said, and some people look young because they don't eat processed food. I know one of my friend who is a cardiologist, and I said, "What is the secret?" He said, "I don't eat anything processed." So tell me, Rakesh, your experience. Little bit of processed food, but overall, there is another question. Partly, Avinash touched that. Many of our viewers would think that if I stop taking milk or dairy products, then how it will affect my body, and probably I need certain proteins and whatever carbohydrates, whatever I won't get it if I become vegan. Address this concern, Rakesh.
Okay, so there are many, many questions in that one question. Let's start one by one. Number one is the fact that once you become a vegan, you're deprived or anything like that. First of all, that's not true. There is a new company called Perfect Day. They have isolated the enzymes that turn plant protein into milk in cows' breast. So that same enzyme is now outside, and you can buy milk, which is plant-based animal milk, so to speak, quote unquote. When I say animal, meaning to compare it to cow's milk, it tastes identical to cow's milk because it's a process instead of happening under the udders of a cow, is happening outside in the lab. So Perfect Day is that company. I'm not there. I don't advertise for them, but I have tested their product and it's same. Second thing is that when you eat whole food versus processed food, now you have seen the ads for potato chips like Pringles. They say, bet you cannot have one. They're absolutely right. Because when you eat one, you can eat the whole box and you don't get satiated. When you eat home cooked, like my grandma used to make potato chips, my mother made potato chips, you eat 5, 10, 15, 20, and you say, Ma, I had enough. I don't want any more potato chips. That does not happen with processed food because processed food is a process of making you eat food without your satiating mechanism becoming full or triggering you to stop. Consequently, we are all becoming obese because of processed food. It's very good for the health industry, so-called sick industry, and pharmaceutical industry because they also benefit from it. So processed food is good for the economy, for one sector of the economy, but it's very bad for human health, and also is good for medical and pharmaceutical industry because they ultimately have to treat you if you eat that food. So if you start to eat whole food, you will feel satisfied, you will feel content, and you will walk away once you're full. If you start eating
And
processed food,
yeah,
you don't know.
and again, I just want to remind you. You were mentioning earlier that it makes you more agile, and you can accomplish more by eating less. So
That's
how?
true. Yeah, see what happened. Our brain is 2 to 3% of our body weight and consume about 25% energy. The other 25% goes into digestive system. If your digestive tract is clean and able to absorb nutrients properly from the food, you need lot less food than if it is clogged with all kinds of junk and chemicals that are in the processed food. Think about it for that way. So it is beneficial to have as clean a food as you can, so you get high level of energy by eating nutrient rich food as opposed to calorie rich food which have you put on weight. And also your taste buds adapt to whole food. Right now we our taste buds are numb, so because of the processed food, chemicals reacting with our taste buds, so you don't get to test the real taste of the food. You test what the food scientists and PhDs are putting into the food as a taste enhancer that your taste buds are addicted to now. So you don't test the real food anymore.
I would like
So
to add
I'll
one
mention.
more. I would like
No,
to add
please.
one more
Yeah.
thing about the audience, about for the audience, that vegan food is actually considered better for sporting performance.
Yes.
And there is a documentary named The Game Changers that
Yes.
came out last year, and it is a ample proof that for sports people and bodybuilders and triathletes and high endurance sporting people, vegan diet has proved actually better than non-veg diet. And some of the examples I can remember are Novak Djokovic, the tennis star, uh, Venus and Serena Williams, both are, I think, vegan. So you
Right.
can't go any higher than that. You can't prove anything more than that.
Right.
You don't need animal flesh to be powerful or long lasting.
So that I would repeat and underline that you don't need animal flesh to become powerful, because this has been the concept many times when you go for
Yes.
some weight training, etc. And some people have this concept that if you are a vegetarian, you will not have enough strength to withstand all that. So what Avinash said, and some experiments have also proven, Rakesh, if you are pure vegan, what they say is that also have some recommendations for the kind of entertainment that you would go for. So they say that those vegans who are actually strictly vegan, they do not support animal exploitation in any form. So what they
Yes.
do is they will not even go to zoos or aquariums, or they will not take part in
Circus.
dog or horse racing, etc. So this not going to zoo, I mean, it sounds like you are depriving kids from certain experience. And overall, your take on this side, as a vegan, your relationship with entertainment.
Right. So as a vegan, and Avinaji said, it is not causing any harm. So there are psychological studies about zoo animal that they become, like they become mentally ill. They never become mentally ill when they're in the wild, but they do become mentally ill because they are confined. Confinement is not an easy thing. We all have experienced during COVID time how bad it is to remain in your home and not being able to get out. So that's number one. Also, vegans do not wear leather products, do not wear wool products. They even buy cars without the leather seats, but maybe artificial leather or cloth seat. So that's thing. And then see, entertainment is like if I was in Rome and you saw Colosseum there. In during the entire span of the Roman Colosseum, while it was active, more than 1 million animals were killed. More than 400,000 people were killed. To me, that's not an entertainment. That's brutality. I mean, what kind of a joy would you see somebody's head being chopped off, no matter who that person? And animals are also, like Avinaji said, they're sensible people. They get attached to you. They show gratitude. You see cows crying and elephant mothers sacrificing or risking her life to save a baby from a mud. These are all examples that they may not have same intelligence as us, but they're pretty intelligent creatures.
Yeah.
And
So
as an
Rakesh,
elder brother or elder animal, we have a right to protect them, not to harm them.
absolutely. So Rakeshji and Avinash, it's very, very important to learn more. And I think we just started, we have touched a scratch, as they say. and we only have few minutes. So I want to conclude by sharing the other argument which any person who is not a vegan would have. A group of small number of people, if they want to design structure their lifestyle with sensitivity or in their heart, but overall there is so much which is the other side, which is related to animal cruelty happening. A lot of people having non-vegetarian food, and probably that number would be higher than the number of people who are vegetarian, or the people who are vegetarian and non-vegetarian would be much higher than those who are vegan.
Mhm.
So what is the hope in terms of the overall impact? The animals would have similar cruelty inflicted upon them. So is there something on those lines where you would like to be proactive in preventing that from happening, or that would take care of itself? Vinay, what is your take on this?
If I go first, yeah. Actually, we didn't even touch the topic of climate change and the effect of the our diet on the climate change. So there is a prediction that by 2040 there will be no fish left in the ocean the way we are killing fish now.
Correct.
And the way we are burning the Amazon rainforest, that also is all going to go away in the next 10, 15 years. And if all that goes away, then the earth will be in a big problem, because the greenhouse gases will not no longer protect, I mean, they will open up the sun rays uh, to earth, and there will be ice melts in the north and south pole, and everything will be flooded. New York City will be underwater. So there are going to be big issues if we don't check our diet.
Yep.
And that's why there are if you look at the right places, animal activists are currently very active, and animal, actually, climate activists too. Just yesterday, in UK, there is a organization called Animal Rebellion. They occupied Gordon Ramsay's restaurant, and uh, they just made a point, and there are over 100 news media took notice of that. They just made a point that all this expensive food and animal based, and Gordon Ramsay's menu is entirely animal based in that restaurant
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
London.
Yeah. Somehow
And
we are running out of time, Vinay. So in 20 seconds, if you conclude, and then one last question for Rakesh ji.
yeah, so there are three main benefits of veganism: your own health, animal welfare, and the climate,
Climate.
so, or the environment. So you cannot say, I mean, you cannot deny that it is the way of life, the best way of life in the future.
Right.
So not only individually, Rakesh, what we hear is an argument being made that it is going to address world hunger by having efficient use of
Yeah.
the resources that we have on the planet. Anything that you can say in support of this, and Rakesh?
Yes. So, say for example, like Avinash says, rainforests are being chopped up. So they are the lungs of this earth. Second thing is that to produce 1 pound of beef, we need 18 pounds of grain. So you can feed 18 times more people. So if world population is 6 billion, it could be triple, and still we will be able to feed people if everybody become vegan. So that's the most important thing we need to remember. Otherwise, people will die because of the climatic changes, because of the flooding, and because of the lack of food going forward.
So while we are talking about the food situation in the world, this is a very, very rich food for thought for all of us. Thanks to Rakesh ji and Avinash ji. Why vegan vision? We tried to understand that with the help of both of you. Lots of good wishes, sir. Avinash ji, you want to say something? Yeah.
I just wanted to say that we are the only vegan outreach organization who has a team running in the New York City marathon or half marathon in 2023. So if there is any athlete who
Give,
wants to join
give
us, please go to our website.
And also,
wonderful.
our organization was founded by H.K. Shah and Malti Vain 30 years ago. This is our 30th year, and HKG is 92 years old, dedicated man with a heart of 29-year-old.
Thank you very
So
much,
you can
Rakesh
see
ji. Thank you, Avinash ji, and pranams to
Thank
HK
you.
Shah ji.